Friday afternoon. I'm Stephen McCollum here at McCollum on Business. Hey, it's the Friday edition. We made it to Friday. Waste Management Opens going on in Scottsdale. Obviously brings a lot of money here to our charities around town with the Thunderbirds. That is underway here. It started yesterday, of course, and then into Friday here. Kind of watching that, keeping our eyes on how the golfers are doing, but more importantly, the crowds look fantastic out there. And just something we're keeping our eyes on. And we have some good news here today, folks. And I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world on this Friday, headed into this Waste Management Open weekend and also Super Bowl weekend as well. We got some Super Bowl stories in terms of companies that expect to make a lot of money this time of year coming up later in the show. But first, it's been a rough week around the markets. Let's get into it with that Market Watch. And folks, Friday is a good one right now. Yes, look at this. This is not made up. This is not AI generated. The Dow Jones right now is up 1,183 points here today to 49,968. I think it's safe to say that the sell-off has gone away. The S&P 500 is up 146 points right now to 6913. The NASDAQ, our link is broken on your screen, so I'll just tell you, up 450 points here today. 22,991 for the NASDAQ. Russell 2K, that small cap index, also nice rebound today, 90 points, 2662 for that small cap index. And then there's Bitcoin. We could celebrate this, but it's still all really low. It went down and touched 60,000 yesterday. Well, today, obviously, it's up here about 8,000 points. It's up to 70,000 again, 70,720. Like I said, yesterday and the worst of part of the day, 60,000 is what it went down and traded at. Even this morning when I took a look at it, driving into work this morning, it was at 66,000, touching 67,000. So Bitcoin having a nice rally today as well, along with all of the indexes out there after just some big sell-off days here earlier in the week, or basically all week long. Stocks we're paying attention to right now. Well, the first one, they announced their earnings yesterday after the bell. So let's look at Amazon here. Not having a good day for Amazon. 6.11% down right now. They reported $1.95 in earnings per share for their fourth quarter. They did barely miss, though, but they did miss it. It was a narrow miss. The consensus forecast was $1.97, so 2 cents off there. On the bad side, Amazon did say it expects $200 billion in capital expenditures for 2026. Yeah, $200 billion in capital expenditure, meaning warehouses, infrastructure, AI data centers, their cloud service. Yeah, $200 billion in capital expenditures for 2026. That's usually, now they missed their numbers, I get it, but that's usually also what driving these AI and tech stocks down here lately is that capital expenditure amount, which is quite frankly through the roof for these companies. Next up, let's go to video games here. Your kids play this all the time, I guarantee you, whether you know it or not. Let's look at a company called Roblox out there. An online gaming platform up 11.87% here today. Roblox shared a very good forecast. They called for a full year bookings to range between $8.28 and $8.55 billion. That's revenue. Now, that's versus the $7.87 billion. That's the estimate out there. Range in the forecast there, obviously well above the $7.87 billion estimate, because they get into the $8.28 billion on the low end of their estimate. Fourth quarter adjusted losses came in at 45 cents per share. Well, that was smaller than the 48-cent loss per share that analysts were looking for. Revenue did end up topping estimates as well, landing at $2.22 billion. The estimate was $2.05 billion. So Roblox, parents, you're spending a lot of money on Roblox. Check the credit card statements. In all seriousness, good reporting here by Roblox, 11.85% up here today with that gaming company. And then we're going to look at the drug makers out there. First one we're going to look at is Novo Nordisk here today. They are up here, 8.33%. They are. The Food and Drug Administration Commissioner, his name is Martin Makary. He came out yesterday, no shocker here, on a social media post. And he said, quote, the FDA will take swift action against companies mass marketing illegal copycat drugs, claiming they are similar to FDA-approved products is the complaint here as well. Why are we looking at Novo Nordisk with that announcement? Well, they're talking about suing Hims and Hers Health. Novo Nordisk up 8.31% right now. I can tell you this, Eli Lilly as well is also up about 2%. But Hims and Hers, we don't have a graph for that. But Hims and Hers Health, we're going to look at that graph here as well. Hims and Hers Health is actually down today here. I don't know if Kobe's got that. If not, I can just tell you, yeah, they're down 2.56% right now. We do have a story coming up for you here in just a few minutes about what's going on with this in more details. But Novo Nordisk is threatening to sue Hims and Hers Health because the synopsis here, as we get to that story, is Hims and Hers Health is coming out with a knockout drug that they say is similar, if not exact same thing, as Novo Nordisk Wegovy pill. So there's some lawsuits going out there, and then the FDA statement. Why we look specifically at those stocks. Later on when we come back, we're going to stay in healthcare when we look at stocks we're paying attention to. We're going to look at Molina Healthcare and then a company called Centene. They're a health insurance provider as well. And then we're going to end up looking at a company called Strategy as well. Obviously, Strategy tied to Bitcoin Treasury, with Bitcoin coming back up from the dowels there of 60,000 up to 70,000 a day. We're going to take a look at them here coming up as well. But first, before we get to that Hims and Hers story here in just a few minutes, we know that there's a computer memory shortage issue out there, all driven because all the AI data centers and the AI companies are buying memory in large bulks to basically aid and build up these AI data centers. Well, interesting enough here, if you're looking to get an Apple iPhone or any type of cell phone, you might want to buy fairly soon here. Because if you remember, when Apple, announced their numbers earlier this week, they predicted strong sales growth last week moving into 2026. We know that their demand for their iPhones, specifically the iPhone 17 models, was through the roof for Apple as well. And then CEO Tim Cook, in an after announcement phone call that he had, he told investors he expected memory chip prices to increase even more sharply than they already have. But he would not answer what that means for Apple and what they'll do in response to those prices. You basically have two options: raise your prices or eat that increased pricing, and don't pass it along to your consumers. Make less profit, but put more pressure on your competition to not raise theirs as well, right? As they have to deal with the same issues. The CEO, Tim Cook, did not address whether the shortage offered Apple a chance to increase its iPhone and Mac market share by maintaining prices, obviously, and that'll mean your profit will drop a little bit there as well. But then, you also have to decide, and how what Apple's going to do is going to affect their rivals out there as well, because they won't have the same leverage with the memory makers. They won't be able to eat the profit margins as much, the price increase as much as Apple would be able to do. Analysts out there do assume that even amid a memory shortage, Apple has clout with their longtime suppliers, companies like Samsung, SK Hynix, even Micron, they have the leverage with them to secure enough chips to make their iPhones. And the smaller phone makers don't have that leverage to be able to leverage their sell growth, their buying growth there as well. If you don't know, this is how big Apple is. They led the global smartphone market last year. They had a 10% rise in shipments, Apple by itself did. If Apple does hold prices and then smaller rivals, they raise their prices, Apple could look more attractive to buyers, obviously. If Apple hikes prices, that would give the competitors room to also hike their prices and move forward. So it's something to watch here in the cell phone marketplace on what Apple does here with this memory shortage coming up here. Now, it's going to affect the whole industry. It's going to see what the market does. So, at minimum, you're going to have a price increase on these things. At a maximum, you might see some of these lower edge companies tend to go out of business, get bought up, or get out of the cell phone company business altogether. So, interesting story there, just with the memory prices and how it's affecting our everyday lives out there. In terms of the government side of stuff, we knew it was coming, and it's officially out there. Yes, we're talking about TrumpRx.gov. That's a new government backed website aimed at giving the Americans access to the discounted prescription drugs. On a truth, actually, yeah, this isn't on a Truth Social post. I just get used to saying that with President Trump. He just spoke yesterday about this as rolling out the website. He said Americans have long been paying the highest drug prices anywhere in the world, while other countries often paid pennies on the dollars for the exact same drugs that we're paying through the new nose for. He went on to say we are essentially subsidizing the entire world by hundreds of billions of dollars every year. He went on to give us stats here. The United States is just 4% of the world's population, and it consumes only 13% of all prescription drugs in the world as well. So he said, remember, he made the deal with these drug companies, and he said these agreements would actually change that dynamic moving forward. So, under the agreements that President Trump and his administration has negotiated, the United States will pay the lowest price paid by any other country out there. So, are they just going to raise prices in the other countries, right? President Trump said, "quote We're taking the lowest price anywhere in the world. That's the price you're going to be paying with on TrumpRx.gov." He said they're going to go way down for the United States by the differences as much as 300, 400, 500. He said even 600% is where it could go down to. And then he said, like he always does, right? In some cases, even more. So TrumpRx.gov is out there and running now, and supposedly I haven't checked it out. I don't get a lot of meds, thank goodness, prescription meds. So I don't know what prices are, to be honest with you, but that's something to look into here if you are struggling with your medication prices and increases in those. And we looked at the Novo Nordisk and Hims and Hers Health stocks here at the beginning of the show. Well, here's the follow up here as well, because Hims and Hers did announce officially yesterday that they're going to launch a cheaper off brand version of that weight loss pill that Wegovy just started coming out with. And so Novo Nordisk launched that pill version of Wegovy just a couple weeks ago, and it was a highly anticipated reformulation of that medication, GLP-1 medication, that was only in shot form before. The announcement from Hims and Hers, well, it's the latest example of that company's efforts to capitalize on that huge popularity of those GLP-1 drugs. You got Wegovy, you got Zepbound, and those drugs is what we're talking about. Obviously, those GLP-1 drugs has revolutionized weight loss treatment here in the United States. And we know Hims and Hers for a bunch of years now. They've sold compounded versions of the weight loss drugs. So what they do is they add other things like B12 shots to it. So you get the compounded. That's what they mean. More things in it than just the weight loss version. They've sold those for years, and they were initially only available as injections. Novo Nordisk Wegovy is the first of the medications to become available in that pill format. The other Eli Lilly's version is not going to be out till April in the pill form coming up. So Novo Nordisk responded to the news on Thursday by vowing to sue Hims and Hers, and they said that product that they're coming out with is an unapproved, inauthentic, and untested knockoff of semaglutide, that chemical name for Wegovy. Despite previous threats and warnings from the Food and Drug Administration, including the one yesterday, Hims has been able to keep its products on the market due to the status as compounded medications. That gives it a different class of drugs that are customized and aren't subject to strict financial regulations out there. So what they're saying is Wegovy does all the clinical trials, gets the drugs approved, and then Hims and Hers adds something to it, steals the formula, adds something to it, and pushes it out there. And then you saw, like I said earlier in the show, the Food and Drug Administration coming out with saying they could do swift action against the company as well. And Hims and Hers down 2.83% when we looked at it earlier. Novo Nordisk was up, and Eli Lilly was up today as well. I think the investors kind of see that they'll win this lawsuit here coming up if it comes to that out there. So that's what's happening in the GLP-1 world right now. And we got a couple of Tesla stories for you today. One now, just a little blip of a story, just to take you a second to tell it. The other one's coming up later in the program, kind of having to do with our local stories. And this little blurb just popped up, and it caught me by surprise here, because we know that Tesla, with their cyber taxis and everything, they're having problems getting testing and stuff in markets. Well, we found out that Tesla is actually operating an artificial intelligence training center over in China. What that's doing is it's focusing on local application and assisted driving. Chinese media outlet did come out and report this earlier today, their time as well. They did cite the Tesla's Chinese company's president in that they're doing that and everything. So they're not. They're kind of. I'm not saying they're skipping the American market for artificial intelligence testing, but they're doing a lot of it over in the China. So it'd be interesting to see if that keeps going here as Elon Musk and Tesla continues to try to improve the artificial intelligence with their cars and driving out there. And we have another story for Tesla coming up having to do with their solar panels. So stay tuned for that as well. But first, we talked earlier about U.S. Food and Drug Administration talking about the knockoff on drugs. Well, they've also come out, and they're busy these days, the U.S. FDA. They came out and they're making an immediate change in the way that they do labels on food packaging. And it's an immediate change to clarify those labels. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary came out and spoke exclusively with Good Morning America about updating these guidelines for no artificial color labels on the food packaging, right? A lot of things say no artificial colors, and they actually do have artificial colors, but because they're pretty generic labels that you could put out there. So this is all part of that effort to cut back on Americans' consumption of those artificially dyed foods, like that dye 40, the red 40 that we've talked about a lot here on the program. So this is for the first time, he said on Good Morning America, the label will now exempt foods dyed with natural sources, things like beets or watermelon juice. They will now be designated as artificial colors moving forward. So that's good, because those are natural. But any hint, anything at all, even if it's 0.0000001% of petroleum-based dyes, well, they will now not qualify for the artificial dye label. In the past, if you had a little bit, like there's a percentage you could have of those petroleum-based dyes in there and still be considered no artificial dye. So they clarified that here coming up, which will change things. We know Hershey's, we know a bunch of companies have, pledged to get those artificial dyes out of their products. So look for that on the new labels coming up as well. And here's a follow-up story. It happened here in Phoenix. We told you a couple weeks ago about this lawsuit with Uber, the ride-hailing company. The lawsuit had started about a week or so ago. This was about the lady that says she was raped in the car by the driver and was suing Uber. And this was the first trial because there's a lot of lawsuits with both Uber and Lyft regarding sexual assault in their vehicles with drivers, etc. This was the first one that was going to set the tone for how to move forward with the trials. Well, we've got a result here of the trial. And yesterday, on Thursday, Uber was ordered to pay $8.5 million to the plaintiff in that trial. So we have a jury saying Uber is responsible for the actions of that driver, at least to an extent out there as well. In that lawsuit, the plaintiff had alleged that she was raped by her Uber driver in November of 23 while returning to her hotel. This is the one where she was here visiting her boyfriend, and then that happened. This verdict was delivered in U.S. District Court in Phoenix. It found Uber liable for apparent agency. It lays the groundwork for about 3,000 similar lawsuits throughout the United States that have been consolidated in federal court. Now, interesting enough, they found him, liable for the driver's actions in terms of, the driver doing it under their platform. The jury did not, though, find Uber liable for negligence or design defects. The company was not ordered to pay any punitive damages. So they're responsible because the guy did it, the driver did it. They're not responsible because of anything Uber did to allow it to happen. Basically, they do the background checks, and they allowed him on there properly, and then it still happened. The company says Uber does. They plan to appeal the decision. Of course, Uber has said it should not be held liable for the misconduct of its drivers. Well, they say that because the drivers are classified as contractors on that Uber platform. Lyft works the same way as well. So, in terms of stats, how often does this happen? New York Times reported last year that Uber received over 400,000 sexual assault and misconduct reports between 2017 and 2022. So that was far more than they had disclosed that they had gotten. They said they had gotten less of those types of reports. In a report last August, Uber said serious sexual assault on the platform had fallen by 44%. Uber has taken steps to address safety on the platform and implemented new features. They now have an in app emergency button. They began piloting a program in the U.S. that allows women to only be paired with women drivers if you'd like to, or even women drivers being paired with women consumers out there, and being opting out of being paired with a man at all. By the way, this isn't just an Uber problem. So now we have a precedent set in a trial with 3,000 other lawsuits at a federal level coming, among other lawsuits. But Lyft isn't exempt either. They've also faced thousands of lawsuits tied to sexual assault and harassment. So it's going to affect them as well. So there's your follow up here and kind of groundbreaking news as well here happening in the Phoenix courtrooms here over the last week. And folks, when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we keep this Friday edition going. We look at this kind of a remarkable recovery here on the market today as everything is way up after several sell-off days. Bitcoin doing a little bit of rebounding today as well. We'll take a look one more time and see where they are. We're going to look at some health insurance providers in Molina Healthcare and Centene. We'll look at Strategy, which is a Bitcoin treasury as well, with that kind of a 10,000 point bump here for Bitcoin today. And then we got the local stories that you need to know as well, including that Tesla one we talked about just a few minutes ago with solar panels. So come on back. It's Fridays, McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business Friday edition. Yeah, the main event is in the can for the week of On Demand right now on Robat TV, of course, on YouTube as well. Free podcast systems, Google, Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Yeah, the main event. Just search at TME Sports Show. It pops right up. Or the main event with Steven. It'll pop right up for you. Today, me and Dale Hellestree, 17-year NFL veteran. Well, we talked a lot about, obviously, Super Bowl weekend, Olympics getting away, opening ceremonies today, NBA, and a bunch of sports stuff getting you ready for this weekend. Catch it on demand now. As soon as we're done here, we go on demand at Robat TV for McCollum on Business, as well as the YouTube page out there. And then we got the Real Matrix. By the way, the pit stop, well, because the Clash was on Wednesday, well, it was going to be our opening week here this week. We pushed it to next week here as we get ready for the Daytona 500 next Sunday, a week from this Sunday, the 15th. And so, folks, big week of getting the 2026 NASCAR season underway. Pit Stop is returning next week. Give us a follow on social medias at the Pit Stop Talk, or, of course, hit us up as well here on demand here, Robat TV on the YouTube page. And it has a free podcast system as well. At the Pit Stop Talk is where it will come up for you there. You could just stop the Pit Stop with Steven. It'll come right up for you there. Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. Next week, debut week here of the pit stop for the new season. IndyCar starts in March. F1's going to get underway here shortly around that same time frame. So join us there for racing-based coverage as well. But at a minimum, give us a follow at the Pit Stop Talk on X, please, and that way we can get that pumped up a little bit. I'd appreciate it very much. And then The Real Matrix, episode 16 is out this morning. 10 a.m. on Fridays is when the new episodes come out here at Robat TV. It's up, ready to go. It's the whole hour of the show. Then what we do is we break it out. Free podcast system, well, it hits at noon, all scheduled and ready to go. Here for episode 16, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, all of them. Well, just search The Real Matrix and it pops right up there for you. The Angry Patriot, excuse me, just wants you to come into the show with an open mind there. Special coming up for you. It's just taking a little bit as we're 16 episodes in. It's coming shortly to Rumble as well. For those of you on the Rumble platform, it's a YouTube-like program. We're having some issues there with YouTube, so we have to kind of move it off there in terms of whole shows. We're still going to post some stuff here coming up on the YouTube page, kind of promotional stuff for it. But catch the episodes there on Rumble. Search the main event, or TME Media is the parent company, or of course the Real Matrix, and it should pop up for you as it's just getting up there. Not a lot of views obviously yet, so might be hesitant to come up there. But in Robat, if you search it or go TME Media, it'll pop up for you coming up there as well. So that was up there. Some shows are up. We're slowly getting them. They're up. The shows are updating and going public. It's been a 3-4 day long process here getting all 16 episodes into that. Once we get caught up, it'll flow smoother. So some episodes are up there. Later on today, we'll get them all the way up to 16. Right now, we're up to 12, and we're still going here to 16. So the Real Matrix out right now for this week as well. And folks, with all that being said, let's get back into that market watch. I'm looking here. I've got a alert here. Wow, shares of Jennifer Garner's company, Once Upon a Farm. Well, just hitting the public market here today on the stock exchange, and they're up 20% in their debut right now. That's the big headline hitting the business world in terms of the markets. They're 20% pop here in their stock debut. But right now, everything is way up today. Dow Jones up to 1,153 points. Nice to see this after several days of sell-offs. S&P 500's up 142 points. NASDAQ, we apologize for the link being broken. We've been told it's going to be fixed, but we're kind of at the mercy of the company service we use. But the NASDAQ's up 417 points today as well. The small cap index, as you see, is up 86 points right now for it. And then you got Bitcoin. The news here, well, now it's back below 70,000, but yesterday at its low point, hit 60,000 yesterday. Got up to 70,000 earlier in the show, back down to 69,452 as of right now. I mean, that's a recovery for Bitcoin, but still way down from that 80, 90, 100,000 level that we've been seeing it trade out. So I don't know, good news or bad news there for Bitcoin, but an improvement today nonetheless with the sell-offs that have been happening all across the stock market. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, Molina Healthcare is the first one. Health insurance company. Look at this, 26.89% down today. They posted an adjusted loss of $2.75 per share in their fourth quarter. What's happening to these healthcare companies is premium adjustments in Medicaid and cost pressures that are happening in Medicare, right? That's the negotiation with the government on how much they'll pay for the Medicaid and Medicare to the medical companies. They're paying less this year, and so their stocks are down with that pressure right now. Molina did say full-year revenue should come in at $44.5 billion. That's well underneath the estimate amount of $46.55 billion that analysts were expecting. And they're not the only one in the health insurance provider field like this. Centene, is the next stop that we are going to look at right now. They're also a health insurance provider, and they're down today as well. Their guidance for full-year revenue came in at $186.5 billion. It's going to range all the way up to $190.5 billion. Well, the consensus was $194.1 billion. So they have their guidance less than the consensus estimate out there. The outlook for premium and service revenue for the year, well, it also was shy of the estimates expected. They said it would range from 170 to 174 billion. Estimates were around 175 billion dollars. So two health insurance providers downgraded here today in terms of the market and what they're saying in their guidance levels based off of Medicare and Medicaid premiums pricing. That's why Centene's also down 5.31% here today. And finally, let's look at a Bitcoin treasury firm called Strategy out there. Well, no shocker, right? All of these companies, Coinbase, Robinhood, all down over the last couple days with Bitcoin sell-off that's happened. So naturally, today you're going to get some buyback with Bitcoin being up about 10,000 points as well. Well, now these guys are up 23.13%. Strategy is obviously a 17% plunge yesterday with that big sell-off. Shares recovered because Bitcoins are rebounding today. There's no secret what these stocks are doing. I just chose Strategy because they have the biggest rebound today with this 23.41%. So that's what that's what's happening. And if you're tied to Bitcoin, and if you're in Bitcoin and then you're into Coinbase, Strategy, and Robinhood, and all these stocks tied to the cryptocurrencies, you've taken a beating this week as well. And so maybe getting some positive momentum going into the weekend. And now let's get into, well, not necessarily some local stories. We've got a couple local stories, but there's a company out there called Fanatics. And they basically have a monopoly in jerseys and apparel sales with all the big brands out there, all the big leagues like the NFL. And interesting enough, Fanatics was forced to release a statement earlier this week because they needed to respond to the huge, folks, I can't describe this enough, huge backlash, not just on social media, but over at the Super Bowl and other places over low stock amounts, and then even complaints about the quality of their Super Bowl jerseys for the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. Fanatics, in my opinion, when they sign these deals, I'm not a Fanatics fan. I'd refuse to buy their clothing out there. I just think it's low quality. I felt that for years, and now more and more people are complaining about it moving forward. Here's what they said on social media, quote, NFL fans, we've seen your jersey feedback, and we take it very seriously. We let Patriots and Seahawks fans down with product availability. We own that, and we are sorry. Here's where they went on to say, and this is where now they start to, blame it a little bit on you, the fan. He said they went on to say the Super Bowl matchup has created unprecedented challenges for us because of the massive surge in demand that we saw from the Patriots and Seahawks fans. How dare you guys want to buy merchandise of your team in the Super Bowl? You're the reason Fanatics isn't good at their job, apparently. That part was my my added part on there. They went on to say both teams went from missing the playoffs last season to being in the Super Bowl, an incredibly rare occurrence that led to these two fan bases buying nearly 400% more jerseys since Thanksgiving versus last year. Even though we ordered substantially more jerseys for these teams than ever before, we've struggled to meet the overwhelming demand to keep team-colored jerseys in stock, which we know is your expectation. As sports fans, we understand your frustration. We'll work tirelessly to be better. But we're still going to blame you for wanting to buy them. Yeah, I added that last part again. That's not the only problem, though, of his stock. They had to respond to the criticism that the jersey quality is garbage. If you're running out of stock, have your stuff be quality. Their stuff is pure trash. So they defended their products and noted that it's ordering more team-colored jerseys and alternate options for consumers because these complaints are out there. Interesting enough, I saw some of these Seattle Seahawks alternate jerseys. Don't even look like jerseys. They look like makeshift T-shirts. Garbage. Fanatics. The sportswear giant advised buyers that any product that does not meet your expectations can be returned free of charge using the Fanatics app. Here's the problem. Fanatics has exclusive deals with the NFL. You can't go anywhere else to get authentic stuff. You're stuck with Fanatics out there, and that's the problem. Fanatics is in the midst of a 10-year partnership with the NFL that began in 2020. It became the exclusive distributor of Nike's adult-sized jerseys and other apparel, boosting its prominence as a dominant player in the online sportswear industry. Yeah, Nike doesn't make their jerseys anymore. Fanatics does it. It's garbage. Look at the pictures of this. Go down to your local, go down to a Diamondbacks and look at the Fanatic gear. Go to the Suns and look at the Fanatic gear. It's not good out there, folks. And they just their quality is garbage. That's just my opinion as a host here on the program. And Super Bowl fans are upset about it, rightfully so. It's supposed to be a memory where you buy stuff to commemorate being in this situation, right? Moving forward, it's not all bad for Fanatics though. They have a sports book out there, the Fanatic Sports Book. They're and now their Super Bowl commercial. By the way, remember when Super Bowl commercials you woke up and excited to watch them for the first time during the Super Bowl? Now you see most of them on YouTube leading up to the Super Bowl. And one of them you see ahead of time is this Fanatic Sportsbook one. And it's gone viral, and it's even increased the business of Fanatic Sportsbook as well before we even get to the kickoff weekend here. This is the ad where Kendall Jenner and it invokes the Kardashian curse. If you don't know what the Kardashian curse is, it's a long-running internet joke that any basketball player who, gets close to the Kardashian family and the curse that becomes to them. Like bad things happen to you, divorce, drugs, alcohol, other things. So it's a thing out there that she kind of makes fun of in this. Fanatic Sportsbook has seen a big spike in downloads due to this ad, and they're seeing that the downloads are accelerating as they get closer, of course, to the game this weekend coming up here. So it's not all bad. Fanatic Sportsbook getting here because of this viral ad that's out there, Super Bowl ad that's out there for them. So it's not all bad for Fanatics, but when you're entrusted to get geared to your sports fans, come out with quality stuff, man. Especially when you're charging $160 for it. Make it quality. Hey, that Tesla story I was telling you about here as well, and we have to wait and see here. We don't know for sure if they're coming to Arizona, but Tesla, Elon Musk at least, came out with ambitious solar ambitions earlier this year. He's tried it before and it kind of failed on him. Well, Tesla now isn't waiting to see if Elon Musk's 100 gigawatt solar ambition is going to happen or even be possible. No, they're starting to move toward it regardless of what they think, right? The Tesla is evaluating multiple sites across the U.S. to begin manufacturing solar cells. So this isn't public, right? People familiar is what we're talking about. So they want to turn what sounded like a moonshot, right? Because he wants to do a lot of this in space, into an active industrial push, effective now. One component of the plan, well, they want to expand production at his Buffalo, New York factory. So that's one stop there. The capacity there could reach 10 gigawatts. That would be the equivalent to 10 nuclear plants up there in Buffalo. Longer term, though, what they're looking at, well, they say that they could do another scenario that would involve building a second facility up there in New York State, but also other places. And this is where Arizona comes in. Idaho, Arizona, they're among other locations under consideration for these big plants to be built. And why is he rushing toward this or wanting to and have these dreams? Well, of course, data centers in space for one, but also artificial intelligence, huge appetite for electricity, and he's prioritizing solar, Elon Musk is, because of that appetite that they need. Musk said last month that Tesla is aiming to produce that 100 gigawatts of solar cells annually to power the data centers here on Earth, and as I said, and the ones in space that he's trying to get done as well. So achieving that target would easily make Tesla the biggest U.S. solar maker. Right now, that leader, First Solar. They expect to boost their U.S. output capacity to 14 gigawatts just this year for First Solar as well. So Tesla, SpaceX merging or at least bringing in XAI into their umbrella as well for those data centers in space. Now, solar panels down here. You see where the Elon Musk companies are trending towards, and that's artificial intelligence. We've known that for a while. That's kind of the valuation of Tesla as well. And we're going that way, and more so here as they are making obvious plans for all this to happen. And folks, We are officially done here on Friday here at McCollum on Business. Don't forget, The Real Matrix up right now on Robat TV. Up at noon here, coming up about 20 minutes on the podcast systems for you. Those of you that catch it there, thank you very much. Rumble, it is up there as well. Some of the episodes, we'll get it up to 16 here. We just got to wait for their platform to accept all of the 16 episodes into that, but that's coming your way as well here over the weekend, as some of them are up there. And folks, we're done. We're going to get all this up on demand for you. We'll see you back here Monday. Survive Waste Management Open, survive the Super Bowl, and we come back on Monday for Daytona 500 week. For you sports fans, here we go. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great weekend.